it's befitting that I have a large zit on my nose. I have a party on Friday, and I'm hoping that it's gone before then. But we tried to conceal it a little bit.
Yeah, we did what we could.
Yes.
It's very on theme, you know?
Yes. I've been cursed.
So, all right, how are we going to begin this? I don't know how to. We read Wicked. That's the gist of it.
Welcome to our book club. So we just randomly decided to have a book club. It's because I watched Wicked, the movie. And of course, people just like fall in love with it. I've heard this is the case with like people who've also gone to see like the Broadway show or off Broadway. But so they like fall in love with the story and how it's adapted to that version. But this is totally different. And so this is what I was telling Tam whenever I was texting her about it. Like, this book is so different. I was expecting to love it. And I did not.
The book was so weird. I haven't seen the movie ever. I, of course, like heard about the Broadway play. I had a friend and his little sister was extremely obsessed with it. She used to play the soundtrack a lot. So I know the songs.
Oh, yeah.
I kind of got it that it was something about the witches from Oz. But this book really gave me an insight on the fact that it is like a whole origin story of the witches. It's mostly about the Green Witch, which is Elba. Or whatever. Elba. Yeah. The craziest name. And then they don't call her Glinda, they call her Glendora.
She starts out as Galinda. And
Galinda,
then,
there you go.
Yeah. And so like there's parallels to the movie's musical. And in the movie, we're going to, for the rest of the video, we're going to refer to it as the movie versus the book. Mm-hmm. And in the book, it was like a little bit different just because the goat ended up getting slaughtered. Whereas in the movie, they did definitely make more like PG-13. So they did take away the animals, capital A. And so they were getting treated. And so it was like the whole like mission of like Oz, the wizard, to like take away their rights. And so they were just kind of like cast aside. Whereas in the book, he was like brutally murdered within his like laboratory as he's doing researches with his research. And he was trying to, what was he trying to show his origins and like why, they have like a state of consciousness, right?
Mm-hmm. Like why they have souls and why they deserve to be treated like essentially the same as a human.
Right. And so like he was similar to the book and movie. It's just that they were coming up on different like viewpoints, people within the like, what's it called? What's the school called? I can't forget.
Oh, I can't think of it either now. It takes you so far away from the school in the story.
Right.
That you almost forget the school stuff happened.
Right. And it was so interesting because like it was so prominent in the movie. And their relationship, Galinda and Elphaba, it was just like that's the whole base of it. And whereas this, it was just like a blip. And then they kind of skate on Bach, and Bach kind of plays like a bigger role in the book. And then he's kind of like gone, right?
Was Bach the
Munchkinlander?
Yes, that ended up doing it, having an affair with Elphaba?
No, that is Fiyero.
Okay. Because that was random. I was like, why are we even into this whole story? How do we get here?
Oh, yeah. So let's talk about that. Because like that was one of the ones. But first I had like text you as soon as I got to it. But like, what was the whole point of this whole like underground, what was it called? The philosophy club? It was just like a bestiality, like, hedonistic like scene just thrown in there for like no reason.
Okay, at first I felt like it was for no reason, but then with the whole later on with the goat, man, I was like, oh, is this to show that like was this another way that he was trying to show, or they were trying to put in the humanity of the animals? They had to make it this intimate, if you would say, to justify like
right, maybe. But people were always saying, especially like whenever the movie came out and people were buying in droves the book, that, like it's not really a book for children.
Oh, no.
No, and it's not. And it's not because it's dark or anything. It's just like there's a lot of sexual content and there's like the brutal murder of the goat, the adultery.
It's so sexual.
So sexual.
Even at the beginning with the lady being pregnant with the green one, Elphaba. And not knowing who her baby daddy was, and not caring.
Oh, yes. And then what they kind of alluded to it, and she didn't know if she was like drugged or if she was raped. Can we say raped? I don't know.
Yeah, great.
Or if she was taken advantage of. Yeah. So that was crazy, and I did not expect it. So it wasn't just dark. It was just like, I don't know. And at one point, let's see, whenever we go to Fiero's widow. I guess what's her name? Samira? Yeah. Whenever she goes to the castle and she's kind of like trying to tell her, I want to tell you how he actually, or the reason for his death, or how, how do you know about it? Like what happened? She's kind of like has this like guilty conscience. And the Samira doesn't want to hear about it. But also at some point before Elphaba is like welcomed into the mansion or the castle, even the way that they describe like the child who was like needing special attention, that she was like comforting her, but also the child was like sucking on their thumb, but also like feeling against a nipple. I was like, what did that have? Like, why'd you have to put that in there?
It was cringy, yeah. A lot of cringe moments like that. And the whole thing with Samira, that she's a child bride, and that's why Fiero can be with Ethelba, and that's kind of why it's okay. Because, and then he said, oh, she offered her sisters to me. I'm like, what? But I couldn't, because then I would have been even deeper in her thrall.
Ew, gross.
She's a child. What thrall? You're not in her.
Right. Yeah. And so like originally it was not just the two of us. I had a whole slew of people, and I texted my friend Shanice, and I was telling her that I don't recommend this book. And earlier, whenever I was reading this book and I was like recommended to people, but I can't recommend this because it's just like, I don't know, even the writing is just, would you say it's gratuitous? Like the sexual and just like, yeah.
And how they're just dragging this story out. Like,
oh yeah, you did say that. Because I feel like, there's like 4 books, I believe, to this Wicked like sequence. I doubt, there could have just been one. In fact, originally, whenever like this movie came out, I thought they were doing it on purpose, just to like, for a cash grab, and just split it into 2 movies. But like having gone to like see the movie, it was like so well done and well paced, and nothing felt like it was a bore. I was never like bored of the story. But this one, I was like upset while I was reading this. I was like, the only reason I have to like read this book is because, we were going to meet and talk about it. But I definitely would have stopped. I feel like I'm at that age whenever you're like, you don't force yourself to read a book anymore. You're just like, oh, at this point, I'm like bored of it. Let me put it aside.
I want it. I have nothing to prove. Okay, the book was way too long. Like the stories are getting dragged out. They're telling us pointless details, and not even just pointless details, taking us on a whole pointless story, part of the story that does not move the pace along at all. Does not move the story forward. You're just giving us information. To the point where at some parts it gets confusing. Like, oh, well, how is this relevant? Or what was that last 30 minutes about? Like,
yes,
we're here now. What was the point of that? Also, at some point, which, okay, like I said, loosely, of me knowing like a little bit about Wicked, I kind of knew that it had something to do with the Wizard of Oz. But then at some point during the story, I was like, oh, this is like extreme Wizard of Oz fan fiction. Like Wizard of Oz went into the public domain, and somebody that was just an extreme fan, i.e. the writer of this story, was like, oh, I know what I want to say about it. It just went berserk.
Totally. It has to be in the public domain now, by right now, right?
Yeah, I mean, I assume so, yeah. And then the whole animal thing. Oh, I know what the show is called. Are you looking at that?
No, my cat was up here. I was like kicking her off.
The whole animal part section of it, or that storyline in this, reminded me a lot of an Amazon show called Carnival Row with Cara Delevingne and Orlando Bloom. Because it's about the same sort of thing, like humans, and then they call them fae people. And it's like fairies, centaurs, whatever, rams, animals that can talk, essentially, just like the goat man. And they too have like a class divide that they're going through, and the humans want to be seen as superior to them because they're getting degrees and they're starting to make money and all of these things and becoming their neighbors. So the comparison is too stark, and they do make it like a whole charge, like bestiality type thing. If you're going to marry a fae person, and then like the half baby, they don't want to accept the half baby. It's a lot. Yes. Have you ever seen Carnival Row?
No. Never. Okay. Yeah, I think it's just like dragged on, especially like because are those other 3 books. Like at this point, what you said. It was just like glorified fan fiction. This really could have just been an article or somebody's like fun thing on the internet, but this got published.
Why wasn't this a blog? This is an extremely popular blog.
Right, because like if you go see the movie or musical, it's so well done. Just like it cuts out all that filler, and it's just like it focuses on Glinda and Elphaba's like relationship. but it differs so much because Glinda has like this, if they focus on their relationship and they're like closer than they are. But that's one of the interesting things about the movie. I feel like in there, the two girls are like, they become their enemies to like friends was so quick. And they didn't like continue that like long enough for them to seem like they were going to be sisters. In the end, you know, in the end of this movie, they're like super close. And then, so at one point, whenever they, well, actually, so like in the movie, they send her off. So Mrs. Morble ended up contacting Oz. So Elphaba demonstrates, you know, the ability to have like witch-like powers. And, you know, Mrs. Morble takes her on as a student because originally Elphaba was only coming to Shiz. That's where it is, the university.
Yeah.
She was coming to Shiz as Nessaros's kind of like a guardian. Yes. So chaperone, exactly. And so it was only after like she demonstrated the ability to do like magic that Mrs. Morble caught that, and she's like, "I'm going to teach you. You're accepted. We need to find a place for you here." Whereas in the book, Elphaba, you know, she's like a great student and she gets accepted in. It wasn't until later, whenever Glinda's chaperone, you know, goes crazy, that they bring in Nanny and Nessarose. So that was weird.
Is it Nessarose or another Rose that ends up getting the shoes made for her because she kind of...
Oh, so in the and that's different also in the book and movie because the father ends up making those shoes in the book for Nessarose. But in the movie, they were passed down. So that was why Nessarose was the pretty, but, you know, disabled daughter. And he was the favorite of the family. And so in the movie, whenever the mother passed away and she goes off to college, or Shiz, the father sends with, you know, gives her a gift, and it's like these shoes. And oh my gosh, I don't know why I'm blanking, but I feel like they were, because in the original like book, they were silver, or like they weren't ruby. The only reason they changed that was for like, you know, Technicolor and everything like that. But so yeah, they changed that storyline as well. Yeah. And then there was kind of like a bit of not jealousy, but kind of like expected like secondness, because Elphaba's like the firstborn, but because she's green and she was like different. Nessarose got these shoes, but I didn't get anything. She's always felt like the outcast within her own family as well.
Well, kind of, from what I can gather of that super complicated storyline too, is like, okay, immediately when she's born, or even while the mom is pregnant, because she's not sure of the parentage and all of that, it's like nobody's that excited. They're kind of like worried about it. And then, okay, she has the baby, and immediately, yeah, you can see the color and all of that, but nothing is wrong with her necessarily. So it's not like they want to discard it or throw her away. But instantly, like, nobody wants this baby. And it's, well, everybody says nobody wants this baby. Like, we're just dealing with this as a consequence of whatever. To the point where now it's even more, for the first time, there's thought being put into who this potential person could be from. Like, who made this baby? It's green. Like, who was it?
Right.
But then the other children, it's like they're a family, quote unquote. So how can you, you know, we know who the daddy is.
Right. And then that's another thing with the second baby in the book. She's still unsure, you know, well, Elphaba, who the child, who the father is, but also whether or not Turtleheart was going to be the father of Nessarose. And it was something
outside.
Right? So it's like, let's make a fan fiction novel of something that's like a classic, I guess, within American culture. But then like, let's make it so, I don't know, not left, but out of there. Just like, yeah. And so I love the movie and musical, just like the adaptation of it. It's so much more positive, and I think I enjoy the meaning so much more, because I feel like I was looking for meaning in it, and I guess you can find it in there somehow. Just like, I guess the animals, it's looser. It's much more like closely held in the movie.
Yeah, this whole book to me is like very much so up to interpretation. Anybody could take it any way they want.
Oh yeah.
Even to the point with the animals, it's like, I'm not sure if the author is taking a position whether the harming of the animals and denying them rights is good or bad. Because from everybody else's standpoint, it's like, okay, so what? But then Elphaba is like putting herself up on the cross. She's gonna go live in a cave. She's gonna do all of this because she thinks it's wrong. It's like, well, whose side are we on? Or is it just you're trying to be objective, but if you are, you're not doing a good job?
Right. And if anything, is she in the movie? she has so much more to stand for. And I don't know, like she relates to the educated or the outcasts. And so, especially with our political climate in America, the animals were just like the minorities, just like people's rights being taken away. But in the book, I don't know, for some reason, the way that she was like trying to go about like these animals' like rights, it seemed more like she wasn't fighting for them as like fighting for others, people like dignity and rights, but she's fighting for them like in a PETA kind of way, like an obnoxious kind of like, right?
Yeah. Very much given that, and very much like I want to stick it to these other people, like these rich kids I go to school with, because they think they're better than me because I'm green. It's like animal too. Like I hate to give this example. Oh my God, you can cut this out if you want. But like gay people comparing themselves to the black struggle, like, oh yeah, we're suffering like you. It's like,
oh God,
come on, we don't have to do that. We're all suffering.
We are like comparison. No, God.
That's what Othello was doing intellectually. And then she's like trying to prove that point to everybody. But what are you really doing to help the animal cause?
Yes. And it just like cuts back and forth. So the story in the movie, there was a train to get from Shiz to the Emerald City. Whereas in the book, it took them over a week to get there. And
how is there a train from these far towns that they came from, but no train to the nicest city, to the capital?
Yeah, right. So it was carriage rides. That's how they got there. Versus like the movie, it was a really glorious like train. And then there was no mention in the movie, whereas in the book, these are desolate times. So like I imagined it kind of like the Great Depression, like Dust Bowl, just like crops are not, growing. The land is like useless and dry. There was a severe drought in the book, whereas we don't see that in the movie.
And also in the book, it was weird. Like, why doesn't this Wiz portion feel grander?
Oh, yeah.
It feels so small. It feels almost insignificant in the grand scheme of the rest of the story. Like, why do we even go? What do we do that for?
Right. And that's exactly like, I guess that's what like makes her realize that she can't go back to Shiz and be under Mrs. Morble. But that was it. It was like super anticlimactic.
And that's what
and then she goes on these side quests and like
waiting for something to happen.
Yes, and it just wasn't. I don't know what else to say.
It's not like it's dry because of all of the random parts that they put in and all of this odd like sexual stuff. So it's not a dry read. It's just like a meandering. Where are we going? It's like a I don't want to be derogatory, but it's like a dementia, Alzheimer's-y version of a story. Like you're taking me everywhere, but to the point of what happened.
That's an interesting way of putting that. But yeah, it totally like it's just like, oh, and then this side quest, and yeah, I did not enjoy it.
And I felt like they were putting a lot of emphasis on different types of, I can't say humans, but different type of beings. But you weren't giving us necessarily a lot of backstory on those things. You're just bringing them up. Like, oh, the Munchkin Landers this, and the people here, and that, and now we're in these places. Like, you're wasting all this time telling us useful stuff. Tell us about that.
Right.
How do all these worlds go together? What's going on? What planet are you guys on?
Right.
Understand what's the connection.
So before like recording right now, I was like upset while I was in the line at Chipotle, and I was like looking up reviews, and people were just saying about how like a lot of people will go and see the movie and the musical, and they'll be like super thrilled to like delve into the universe and read the books. And of course they're different, but the books are like a hard read, and a lot of people are like not happy or discouraged with what they end up with in the book.
Yeah, because you saw the movie initially. I haven't seen the movie. I'm a little bit familiar with the play. But yeah, from the book, it's like I would have no motivation to go see that movie. This book is like, what's happening? What's the movie going to be about? Yes. If I never saw the advertising or anything like that, it'd be like the movie. Where's it going to start? Where's it going to...
Right. Based off this book. Yeah. And that's just like part one, like the first book.
So as a person that saw the movie, do you feel that the movie just extracted that beginning portion with the whole school thing and just kind of expanded on that and made that the general premise?
Yes, that's the whole premise of it. And so like that's where they end up. It wasn't until like the very end of this. I thought, well, so like the movie is like 2 hours and like 40 minutes long, but the bulk of it is them at Shiz and like the bonding between Glinda and Elphaba.
Mhm.
And so like that story was, we just focused on that more so instead of moving on. There was not these extra. So like Bach was there. I don't like remember there was no Thibbet. And what's the other one? I forgot the C name. But there was the other characters. And so Fiyero was actually supposed to be this, so he was the prince, but he was the male lead. So he ended up being the love interest for Galinda and then kind of having this thing for Elphaba. So it was not because Galinda is the prima donna, the very pretty, everything put together, Ariana's character. And then he's, the prince. He's kind of full of himself. He's the one that sings the dancing through life. So he's just, there for the parties and to have fun. And it wasn't until later we find out that, there was more to his character. He's yearning for more in life and then ends up falling for Elphaba. And it's kind of respectful, she's not focused on that relationship. She's trying to figure bigger things out in life. And so, so they take the characters that are in there and they totally adapt it in a different way. It's not strict to the book at all.
Were the kids, Elphaba and Fiyero's kids, the numbers, the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 kids?
Well, that's the sisters, yeah.
Okay, the sisters.
They weren't in there.
Okay.
Yes. Or at least in part 1.
Okay.
Yes.
I'm like, why are they naming this? But this guy, he's just tired of writing at this point. He just ran out of steam. He's just I've made up so much.
Yes. Yeah, they definitely could have cut out a bunch.
I don't know. If somebody has an edited version and a bridged version of this, if you would, send it to me because I really want to know and understand what happened, what I just read. I want a succinct, clear synopsis. What are the points? Act 1 through 4. This.
Or you could just wait till next year and then go see part 1 and 2 together.
Oh, they're going to come out back to back? Did they already film the other one?
Well, yeah, I think it's already filmed, but it's coming out, I think, next November. But you should definitely go see the movie. I highly recommend it. I left, and I'm not a crier, but I almost shed a tear. Almost. But it was so good. Yeah.
Are there a lot of songs? Are there a lot of big numbers?
Yeah, the whole thing's musical.
Okay.
So yeah, but even we know of Popular and Defying Gravity. Those are the biggest numbers, but every one of them is a catchy, nothing's a B-side.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Have you been enjoying all of the merch and the fanfare around the film?
A little bit. In general, I don't love capitalism, but they gotta sell it. They have to pay for that 15 million alleged payroll for Ariana.
Oh.
Alleged.
Okay. Ariana got that bag on her next husband. You prepared to sign that prenup?
Yeah.
Okay. It was a little bit overwhelming because, or perhaps we should say underwhelming, next to the comparison that we had that was Margot Robbie with the Barbie promo. How that was just omnipresent. Every collaboration from Cold Stone to the hospital, everything was Barbie everywhere. So this kind of... So everything now that they try to do with Wicked kind of seems like a great value version of that. I hate to say it. They were trying to follow that same playbook, even down to having the premiere with the Kardashians.
Oh, right.
That seemed kind of weird, but it's okay, we're trying. We're trying to get the word out. We wanted to go triple platinum.
Right.
But it's just maybe it was too fast on the heels of Barbie to just do that same exact, or attempt to do that same exact marketing playbook. And Ariana Grande is already known for being a pop star, so it doesn't go over as well marketing wise of her selling this other thing as Margot Robbie taking Barbie for that whole year. True.
And I feel something they had to be aware of was just during the marketing of it is getting the word out about the movie, but not talking about the alleged infidelity between Ariana and the guy who plays Bach in the movie is the guy that she allegedly was cheating with.
Break up with your girlfriend.
She's telling us. She's been telling us. Yeah.
How would they know?
And then I didn't know this until you told me that the similar situation with Cynthia Erivo.
Oh yeah. But you know what? That's why you shouldn't fly too close to the sun. And that's why if you are living a less than ideal existence, if you got a little dirt under your rug, you shouldn't go out on big press tours like this, because I had no idea about nothing about Cynthia Erivo. All I knew that she was Harriet Tubman. But they're going on this wicked quest, and they're going to check all the time. And then people, it's on my Twitter, on my timeline, all of her shady dealings. That she used to be acting crazy on Twitter, saying things, inappropriate things. That she apparently home wrecked Lena Waithe in her previous life.
Oh, damn.
It's a lot. It's a lot going on. So if you have a little bit of dirt, keep it cool, keep it quiet. Maybe don't do, but I mean, you have to pay your bills. You get on Wicked.
It's,
Are you
it's
all
worth
promo
it
of
for her,
good
the
promo?
Wicked money. Yeah, I'm sure that's what she thought. And I'm sure it is. You know, you have to accept that people are going to bring this up. But yeah.
That's true. When you do something publicly, you can't expect.
Yeah,
Okay, it's an evil world we live in.
it's true.
A final Wicked thought. Obviously, we know you would pick the movie over the book any day of the week. I haven't even seen the movie, and I guess I'd pick the movie over the book too.
But yeah, but based off of this, both of them, I am like still so excited to go see the musical. So eventually, like when it comes around, I'm sure it'll be expensive, but yeah, I really want to go see that.
Oh, to see it live, like at the Pantages. The Pantages is here in California. What is the theater in Dallas?
I think we have like a fair park, like a musical hall. Yeah, something. But yeah, I think it would be really cool to go see that.
Okay, if you guys have money, you have connections, you know people. Put a link below. Help us out with some tickets. Do a little something. Send us a super chat.
Yeah,
If we can go see Wicked. Maybe we want to get concessions too. We want popcorn. We want drink.
we have to pay for parking too.
We try to skim. It's times are hard. Don't try to skim. If you're gonna send us to the place, send us to the play.
Right. Well, that's our book club. Thank you for watching. Let us know in the comments what you think of the book and what you thought of the movie.
And maybe tell us what you want us to read next. Give us recommendations. Don't tell us. Give us recommendations.
Yes. And we can't promise we're gonna read the second, third, the fifth, the trilogy, whatever it is.
No, I'm not making any promises.
No. Okay. Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.